I never wanted trouble. All I wanted was a quiet life out on my 15 acres, with my cattle, some vegetables, and a pond I deepened years ago to help water the land. But when the local HOA decided that my farm pond was unsightly, they declared war. They just didn't expect me to win. Let me take you back to how it started. I live in a semi-rural development on the edge of town. Years ago, when my father passed, I inherited the land he'd worked most of his life. It's beautiful country. Rolling fields, groves of oak trees, and a shallow valley where rain naturally collected. With some digging and a small dam, I turned that spot into a working farm pond. It helped irrigate the garden, gave the cows a place to drink, and frankly, made the view from my porch even better. Then Carol showed up. Carol Whitman was a retired interior designer with a taste for rules and an obsession with curb appeal. She moved in from the suburbs and quickly became president of the HOA. And like many people who suddenly find themselves in a little position of power, she went overboard fast. Her new bylaws were ridiculous. No garden sheds visible from the road, no outdoor clotheslines, no non-decorative water features, whatever that meant. Suddenly, my working pond, which had been on the land for more than a decade, was in her crosshairs. One day, I came home to find a notice on my gate. Violation. Unauthorized water feature. You are ordered to remove the pond within 30 days or face a daily fine of $100. Total fine, $3,600 to date. I laughed out loud. Fine for a pond. On my farm, I went to the next HOA meeting and asked Carol what the hell she thought she was doing. Her reply, "It's not about you, it's about the community's image. This isn't a backwater anymore." That was it. I tried to reason with her, told her it was used for agriculture, for livestock. She didn't care, as the board backed her mostly out of fear or ignorance. That's when I realized reasoning wouldn't work. I'd need to fight this another way. Digging for justice asterisk, I started collecting every document I could get my hands on. HOA rules, county ordinances, land use laws, anything that might help. And I hit gold. First, according to county zoning regulations, agricultural properties were exempt from HOA landscaping rules, especially when those features predated the HOA's founding. My pond had been there long before Carol and her bylaws ever arrived. Second, the HOA never got a community-wide vote to enforce these fines. They were supposed to get majority approval before levying any new fees. But Carol and her board just voted privately and started issuing fines like they were the law. I wasn't the only one. Turns out over a dozen other residents had been fined for things like raising chickens, planting native grasses, even painting their barns in non-approved colors. Most of them had paid up out of fear, so I hired an attorney and filed a formal complaint with the State Housing Board and the County Zoning Office. Then I let Carol know what was coming, the meeting that changed everything asterisk at the next HOA meeting. I stood up during open comment and handed out printed copies of the complaint I'd filed. People flipped through the pages and looked up at me with wide eyes. Carol's smug smile disappeared for the first time since she'd arrived in the neighborhood. Asterisk, I've filed with the county. I said calmly. This HOA has been enforcing illegal fines and violating property rights. You'll all be hearing from the authorities soon. Carol tried to cut me off, saying I was disrupting the meeting. I just smiled. You fined me for a pond that predates your bylaws. You broke the rules. Now you're going to answer for it. Within 2 weeks, the State Housing Authority issued a cease and desist order to the HOA, freezing all pending fines and demanding an audit. The County Zoning Board backed me, confirming that my pond and my land use was fully compliant with agricultural protections. Then came the real blow. A ruling that every fine collected by the HOA in the past 2 years had to be refunded. Every last dollar. With interest, the collapse of Queen Carol's reign, asterisk in total. Over $78,000 in fines had to be paid back. The HOA's bank account was nearly emptied. Carol and 2 board members were found guilty of violating HOA policy and state housing codes. They were removed from the board permanently. At the final meeting she presided over, Carol stood in front of the room, pale and shaking, reading a prepared resignation. She couldn't even look anyone in the eye. "We were just trying to raise standards," she muttered. Someone in the back muttered, "You raised hell." The HOA held a new election. We voted in a board made up of actual residents who understood this was a community, not a gated suburb back to the land today. My pond is thriving. I built a little pier off the side and stocked it with catfish. My cows drink from it, my nieces fish in it when they visit, and the ducks love it. The willow trees I planted have grown tall, shading the water in the afternoon. Neighbors now stop by and ask. It's about setting up their own ponds or gardens without fear of being harassed. There's laughter again at the community potlucks. People wave when they pass each other on the road. The fear that hung over the neighborhood is gone. Funny thing is, I wasn't trying to make a point when I fought back. I just didn't want to be pushed around. But when you stand your ground, sometimes you help others find their footing too. As for Carol, she moved out 6 months later. Couldn't handle the shame, I guess? Rumor has it she tried joining another HOA, but once people found out who she was, they gave her a hard pass. You don't mess with a farmer's land. That pond wasn't just a hole full of water, it was part of my family's life, part of our history. Carol tried to erase it with a fine and a rule book, but in the end, it was her own greed and arrogance that got washed away. They fined me for my farm pond, and then they cried when they were ordered to pay everyone back. Justice, it turns out, runs deeper than they ever imagined. Asterisk.